Hi, Nodar, and whoever else might be watching this. My name is Alan Ranciato, and this is my final project for the E-118 class. My project is called Golf Gamer. And I'm going to go through a couple slides and then show a demo of what it is. So what is it? It's a project for golf lovers. It is a smart contract that tracks multiple golf bets. So overall score, skins, and close to the pin contests across multiple golfers, all configurable, how many golfers, how to set it up. And it's a way to track bets between friends when doing this or other people. The features of this smart contract: it can track multiple rounds of golf. It is not limited. It enables a custom payout percentage per game type. So if you want your skins to pay more than your overall score bet, or you want some other different allocation of how do you do payouts at the end, you can customize that as part of the constructor or as part of a function within the smart contract after it's deployed. It does require funding deposits from all players before payouts. So everything is done in Ethereum as part of the smart contract right now. And it pays out a commission to the contract owner. So to pay for both gas as well as management of the contract, there is a configurable commission percentage that will pay out to the contract owner once all of the payouts are done. And it does enable requiring attestation by however many number of players before allowing payouts. So if you are playing with people that you don't completely trust, or you want validation on the scores before paying out, the status of the contract is locked and it's just in closed or pending attestation state prior to paying out, and will not allow payout. Resources used here, or resources for this project, are the GitHub repo. So the GitHub repo is located here. This GitHub repo does have all of my projects from the entire semester. So there is a final project folder, which is where this is. And within that final project folder is the README for this project, which talks about the project structure, references used, the link to the slides I'm showing right now. Project dependencies, the only dependencies on this are Jupyter Web3 Python, Truffle Ganache with instructions on how to install those, how to launch Ganache, and then how to test the code. So there is a suite of Truffle tests as a part of this project, how to deploy the contract into Ganache, and then how to migrate it, and then how to work with the contract. And working with that contract in here is all done via Jupyter. So back to this link, and I did say that the GitHub repo contains all the code, so it is a little large and it has some of the course samples in there as well. And now for a demo. So going into the project, that final projects folder, if you look at it, it's a standard Truffle project. It does have a contracts folder, and it has the Golf Gamer contract, which is set up here. And it has a migrations contract as well. Within the migrations folder is your initial migration as part of Truffle, and then the deploy contracts JS file. The deploy contracts JS file calls into the constructor of the Golf Gamer contract, and it passes in what is the entry fee, so entry fee per player, the commission percent, and any number of attesters, and it passes in addresses for the players that are going to play. And then we've got a test file and test folder in here, and we'll run these tests in just a moment. But the tests take you through, it gets the initial status of the game, gets the player, skins value, so on and so forth. So in order to test this, we're going to run Truffle test. And if all goes well, everything should be fine. It's compiling our contract, running all our tests, validating, running the tests in there, and we have 21 tests passing right now. So the testing is getting the total pot value. That is your entry times however many number of players. We are getting the values of all of the games, everything we're doing. We are changing the percentage payouts as we need to be. Then we're posting scores. So we're just setting up on how to post some scores here, and we're posting a bunch of different scores for the different players. Going through, we're getting the scores, making sure that works, getting the status of the contracts, checking the status of the contracts based on different actions, whether it is closed, if it's been attested to yet. We're making sure that before we can allow payout that we actually have money on the contract. So we're making sure that all the players have done the deposits, and the deposits add up to what the players times the entry fee adds up to. So here we're doing some deposits. We are getting the contract balance and validating that, asserting on that it actually adds up. So it's the balance divided by ETH2 times by the entry, and making sure all that is added up together. Getting the scores, and then we're going to do a withdraw. And the withdraw on this is actually goes through, and I'll take you through that code real quick. The withdraw calculates out the balances and what each player wins, determines who the low overall player is for the round, because there is a low overall winning also, updates the payouts for each player, and then closes the contract balance. So with that close contract balance, or actually it does a pay player function to pay out each individual player. So for each player, it's a payable wallet, and the value, we are taking their payout and removing the game commission if the commission percent is greater than 0. Then we are sending the balance and transferring that, and we are emitting the log withdrawal event as part of that. And then the closed contract balance. And what that's doing is that is taking whatever is left on the contract, so any payouts that were not made, which is basically your commission, and paying that out to the owner of the contract. And that should give you a 0 balance, and then we are setting the status of the game to close paid, and that's it. So now to take you through the process of actually running this. So we're going to open up Ganache. We are going to start a new project. We are going to associate that project with our truffle config and save and restart. So now we've got balances in all of our accounts. We are now going to migrate that project. So we're going to do a truffle migrate. And that migration is going to use that deploy contract and these constructors here. Everything went fine. We've got 2 contracts deployed. That's our Golf Gamer contract and our truffle migration project. Going to Ganache, we used a little bit of gas for doing that. Take a look at our project, and we've got 2 contracts deployed. So we're going to open up this Golf Gamer project. We are going to copy that address for that, and then we're going to open up our Jupyter Notebook. So here's our Jupyter Notebook. It is located in the root of the project directory as well. It's got the description, everything we just talked about, copy of the proposal, and then the setup. And the only setup needed in here is to bring that contract address in. So now we're going to run through here. We are going to kick that off, set that contract address. We're going to do our standard imports, our standard setup, point to our Ganache instance, grab a bunch of accounts that are going to be used for our players. Here we are setting the default account, which is the main account, and that's going to be the owner. Contract name, and getting all of our information. Let's take a look. All the contracts seem to deploy fine. We're getting all of our functions, or all our public functions, out of it. Just setting up some utility functions that we've done in the class several times before. And now we're going to test the contract. So we're going to create an enum in Python just so we can map to the statuses of the contract rather than just getting the integers back. And we are going to get the players. And we've got 4 players. Great. player 2 just to see who it is. And that address should match up with our 04FA CEA. That should match up with that guy there. It does. Great. And now let's make sure and assert the status of that contract. Now that it's been deployed, the initial status should be open. Great. So we are going to see what the skins value are and the CTP values are. They're 0 because we've got nothing won and no money. Total pot should be the number of players times the entry fee, which was 20. And we're getting that by using the get total pot function. And these were get skins value, get CTP value functions. Then we are going to look at what the payouts are going to be. And the payouts based on the percentages on the default, which were 33, 33, and 34% for the different games, are 26.4, 26.4, and 27.2, and that adds up to 80. So then we are going to change out the payout percentages. So right here, we're going to set the payouts, and we're going to try adding the percentages up where they don't actually add up to 100. We should get a failure here, and we do. So we're reverting the percentages for payouts because percentages of payouts must equal 100. Great. So now we're going to try that again, and we're going to set it to 20, 23, and 57% respectively. And now here are our payout amounts, which is great. And that adds up to 80. So coming down further, we're going to add some scores into the contract. So now we've actually transacted, we've added some scores, and let's check to see what the payouts for each one of those are going to be. Payouts are still the same. And now what is the value of one skin going to be? And by looking at that, we can see we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 14, 15, 20 skins paying out. So it's going to be that number, that 16 divided by 20. And what do we have? We've got 0.8. That is perfect. Great. So let's see what the CTP payout is going to be. That's going to be 3.68, which is the total number of close to the pins won times or divided by that 18 or 18.4 divided by the total number of skins or close to the pins won. And let's look at the players and see what their winnings are for each one of the players. So player 1, the winnings are 6.08, and over 2 rounds, that player has scored 169. This one is going to be, player 2 is going to be a 188. Player 3 is a 188, and player 4 is a 167. So player 4 is going to be the low winner. So coming down through, let's see, we're going to now close the game and pay our players. So we're going to set the, or call the close game function, which is going to set the status to closed, and let's see what happens. We can't add another score because the game's already closed, and we're throwing an error. The game is no longer open for score entry. Great. And let's see what the status is. The status should be pending a test, because we did call in our constructor that we wanted one player to do a test. So we are going to see what's happening here. We are attesting on the game, and now remaining attestations is 0. Great. So now we're going to see who attested to it, and that is player 2, I think, from earlier. That might be the owner of the contract. Coming through here, and now that we've attested, the last player has attested to it, and the contract is now in closed state. So now we're going to pay our players. We're going to call the withdraw function to pay out those amounts. And the withdraw function failed because not all players have funded yet. We haven't made any deposits into the contract. So let's do that here. So let's set up a couple transactions, 20 Ether for each one of those players. And let's check the initial contract balance. The contract balance is 0, and that matches up in Ganache. Contract, the balance is 0. Great. Coming back in here. we are going to change to each player account and go through the list here to do their own deposits. So we have transactions on each one of those. And now let's check the balance of the contract. Balance of the contract is now 80. So going back into Ganache. And let's get that updated. And the balance of the contract is 80. And we've emitted 4 deposit events, each one of those from the different players in the amount of 20 ETH. Back to the test. We're going to walk through here. Now that we've paid, we're going to do a withdrawal. And now that we've withdrawn, the status of the contract should be closed paid. So let's validate that. And it is closed paid. Let's take a look at the contract real quick. So for each one of the accounts, players 1 through 4, they now have money on their accounts, 85, 90, and the buy-in was 20. So this player got 590. This player got 1459, 1466, and 5246 paid out. And the contract owner retained 2.34 ETH based on that commission that we had there. So let's validate those things. And the contract balance should be 0. It is. And let's just validate that. The contract is at 0. Great. And let's wrap up and validate that the owner, check the balance of the owner. So our contract owner is 1.0234, and that's what we have there for our accounts. 10234, perfect. We've got score, and we're going to check the score here. So the winnings on that one was 85.89 or 85.90 on the balance in the winnings. Those all add up, and player 4 should have that additional payout on their winnings, which was the get score, and check the winnings on that. And that is the 132.46. And validating that, 132.46, perfect. And back into the notebook. That's it. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was useful. I hope if you're a golfer, you think of me. And thanks for an awesome semester and a great class. I'm very interested in taking this further. Bye.